What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be doing part 2 of my PC build, which would be my graphics card. I teased it in my previous video, but this is it. It's the MSI Gaming X 4060, one of the most controversial cards when it comes to price for the year 2023. So this one I got from Computer Mania. And I've been saving up for it for a while. So, well, I saved up for my whole PC build, but you know your graphics card is your biggest one, so your biggest component. And this is the 8GB version, GDDR6 and everything. I didn't go for the 16GB version because it didn't release when I bought this one, so this is the one I have. And I actually wanted a triple fan card because of the size of this case. I wanted to fill it up more, but unfortunately, you know, only the TI came in a triple fan for the smallest card that there might be. So without further ado, let's get this baby unboxed and install it. So it has DLSS 3, ray tracing, reflex, and studio. So this is a good card for if you want to get into video editing and all of that. And there we go. Pull that out. And then put that flat. And there we go. Don't you guys just love unboxing experiences? I mean, it's pretty interesting. So there we go. We got some little protective foam over there. Put that down right there, and then we have our card. Let's take that out. Yeah, forgot to take that out, should have taken. But anyway, here we have the card, all in its glory. And what else do we have here? Here's our specific user guide, and then there's nothing else. Because this is not the higher end cards, it doesn't have the adapter or anything like that, so that's a good thing. I guess you could just use the normal 8-pin from your power supply. Still nice and sealed. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So what do you think? This is the Gaming X from MSI. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of RGB on the cards. I mean, these normally would light up those 3 dashes over there, but it doesn't. So I think the only RGB that we're getting is this over here. There's no peel, unfortunately, which sucks. Man, who doesn't like a nice peel?
That's what she said.
And then this is just normal plastic. And then you have your little... This is a 2-slot card. This is just plastic, yeah. And then we have a little metal backplate with a little cutout there that will provide ample cooling for this to just pass through and it pushes through. So that would be in your system like that. And then it'll just push through whatever air that you need. You do have the MSI logo there, so you'll see it from the top. It would be cool to vertical mount this card as well. And then you'll see the fan spinning and if it goes mad and all of that. But unfortunately there's no RGB there, which kind of sucks. And then yeah, so here's our ports that we have. 3 display ports and 1 HDMI port, which like on the box it says can go 4K 240 Hz. What do you guys think? Should we get into installing it? So we've been installing the graphics card now. Be sure to remove the plastic covering over there, as well as removing the ports that you're going to use. I'll be using a dual monitor setup. So I removed the HDMI and the display port as well there. And then be sure to remove the slot covers as well that's there. So this is 2 slots. So then make sure you line this up properly with the top slot there in your motherboard. And then we'll install this. Make sure you'll probably hear a nice audible click once you install it, so make sure you line that up. It's slotted in there, and then we just give it a little.
Nice.
Right, so it's in there, and then be sure to connect your power as well. So we have our 8-pin or 6x2, and then make sure it is nice and secure. We don't want the card to melt or anything. Not that I think it will, because it's not one of those high-powered 12-volt connectors for the bigger cards. I hope you guys heard that. There was a nice audible click, and then we just tighten it down with these screws that we have right. Alright, there we go. There is your installed graphics card. It's pretty small compared to the chassis, which is not bad, but it's okay. There's always room for improvement in the future, so maybe one day we can upgrade it. So as you can see, it is there. It's pretty small and it's a very slim design, so it's just a 2-slot card. Next up, some gameplay. Too high to see what frame rates we get, and we have no DLSS enabled whatsoever. And we can see as we move on to the high preset, our frame rates dramatically improved up to, oh, there's a sandstorm. up to around 150, 160. Max was about 170. You see, going 170, even 180 we almost pushed there. And on the drivers, we're running noticeably lower with our usage on the GPU as well. It's not pushing all of that resolution out and that extra frames for you. So we're doing quite well with the milliseconds response time. It's it's dropped dramatically as well, and it's very playable. I mean, it looks good still. You still get the sign and everything. The reflections on the car look good. The debris and everything is still 100% there. So there's no issue with playing your game at a lower resolution. So let's move on. So then now we could just test the extreme preset, what I was originally on, with DLSS enabled. We set it to quality at least, or performance. We'll see how we feel that time. Okay, so we on extreme preset right there. So you can see everything is at the best as it could be. So we're going to try and set our DLSS to ultra performance just to see how much extra frames we could get. So previously we had around 70 odd frames per second, but since it's an ultra high performance or an ultra performance, let's see how much we can get. Alright, so we are at the extreme preset with DLSS set to ultra performance. So it did boost our frame rate. We're getting about 80 to 95 frames per second now, with the highs going at up to 100 frames per second. So that's pretty good. But look at the ghosting that I'm getting with the graphics cards just trying its utter hardest, doing the most just to keep the game running. I'm guessing that's a screen issue as well with the refresh rate that just can't keep up with what the graphics card is putting out. So as you can see, also everything is just looking just not and it's just not as it should be, you know. I bet if you turn DLSS down to quality, it would be much better. Alright, and this is quality. So we're still getting a little bit of ghosting, and our frame rate has dropped a little bit, but it's much more playable. It's easier on the eyes, and the game still looks very good. I mean, we still got the shadows and everything. That was a glitch there in the Matrix, but everything still, it just looks much better now. You know what I mean? We got the colors still pop and everything. Shut up, Anna, we don't need to talk to you right now. But yeah, it just looks real good. So let's move on to the next title. Right, we're in Red Dead Redemption 2. As you can see, just in the menu, we're about 60 frames per second. And then if we go down, we obviously at 1080p with a full view. See, everything's set to high and just the highest that it could be. And we have no DLSS on for now to see how we can play the game with just that presets. But everything else is set to the best it can be. So this is at the campsite. This is still at the beginning of the game. I still haven't played this game as much as I would have liked. So yeah, so we're getting about 60 frames per second. The latency is pretty high, but you don't really notice it. So yeah, so we're using about 95% of the graphics card, and we're sitting about at 63 degrees. And this game is not too CPU heavy, so it doesn't break the bank with the temperature on the CPU. So we're doing it at about 41 to 45% usage, with our graphics card being at about 93. So there is some bottlenecks, but that's nothing to worry about. And this game looks really good. This is one of the most beautiful games Rockstar has ever made. And GTA 6 will be dropping soon, but no official announcement for when the game is actually dropping. Hopefully that is pretty soon. So we've set DLSS to ultra performance, which didn't really make much difference. The frame rate actually dropped, which is kind of sad. Look around Arthur and the horse, how the shades and everything is just or how the textures are being loaded. It's just not doing anything properly, you know what I mean? And there we go. With DLSS back to quality, everything just looks so much better. The game runs smoother. We're not getting that magical 60 FPS, but that's perfectly fine. Depending on where in the game, we'll probably reach it. But that is if we probably would lower the settings or lower the graphics, then we'd probably reach that magical 60 FPS. But I don't care. For me, it's just as long as I can play the game at a decent frame rate, that's perfectly fine. So let's move on to some multiplayer. Okay, so while we're matchmaking, as you can see, we are in 1080p native mode, full screen, and everything is set to high. Okay, so we are dropping in into the Apex. So as you can see, we're getting about 120 odd frames per second. So that's definitely not bad at all. Let's wait till we get in game. So we are in game now. Let's see, we're getting about 140 frames per second. Let's see what we can do. I suck at FPS shooter games, so yeah, let's hopefully they don't kill me. And I'm gonna go down without even having a damn ass gun. So we're spectating now. As you can see, we're holding stable at around 143, 45, up even 150 frames per second. And it's not that bad with the temperature of the CPU going up to about 95, which is pretty high. And the GPU usage is around 60 odd percent. So that's not bad at all. So I think this game is actually pretty good. I don't play it, but it's very easy to run for this graphics card. So let's move on to the Warzone. So as we're waiting for matchmaking to begin, just under 3 gigs of memory, and we set to 1080p as well. You can see the graphics card and everything. All of that is set right there. We have sustainability, VSync off, and all of those things just turned off completely. See the native view. The game should look very good compared to everything. So there our usage bumped up from just under 3 to 4.1 gigs. So this shouldn't be too bad in game. So let's hope for this matchmaking. And we are dropping in, and I'm already dying. Okay, so we are in the war zone, and we are getting around 90 frames per second, close to 100, which is actually pretty decent. So let's see. Oh shit, let's see. This guy's probably up here.
Training is over. Time to see what you have learned.
Okay, so we are dropping into the war zone now. There's someone going down there already, and we're already glitching. Okay, so we are in the war zone, and we have around... Oh, the game's glitching already, and that's pretty bad. So 1080p, around 60 odd 80 frames per second, which is not bad, but it's not the best. I mean, we could clearly, if we lower the resolution, we could definitely get a lot more FPS up in here. But hopefully it's not too bad up in... Yeah, so we are getting around 100 and something odd frames per second, and he killed me. So now we're in the gulag. Let's see if we can actually get out of here. Right, someone is there. Right. So fighting my way through the gulag. Let's see if I can actually make it back into the game. Oh yeah, so I'm back in. It could have been bad, you're right. Right, so I'm back in the game. So yeah, it's not the greatest, but it's also not the baddest. The game is definitely playable, but I do think I can do a lot better if I just fine-tune the game. So if you're more into playing multiplayer games, I wouldn't say this card is definitely for you unless you want to play on a lower resolution. Running around with nothing going on, it's smooth. The game is definitely playable. I think on a better screen this wouldn't be too bad if I do that. And I died again. Back to the gulag. So what do you guys think about the MSI Gaming X graphics card? 8 gigs, it's okay, not too shabby, but I would say this is more for single player games as it is for multiplayer, and with AAA games going at it is 8 gigs just really isn't enough anymore. So in future I will probably be upgrading it. So for now I'm happy with the card. The games that I play, I don't need a better graphics card, but you know, you always want the best. So stay tuned for the next update on the PC build. Peace out, see you in the next one.